Every crime hides a story. Every story hides a truth. Welcome to The Watcher, where we uncover the mysteries others look away from.
Top 10 celebrities who faked their own death. It starts the same way every time. A shocking discovery. A lifeless body, a frantic news bulletin, and millions of fans in disbelief. But with some deaths, the story doesn't end with mourning. Instead, it sparks rumors, conspiracies, and claims that the star never died at all. From rock legends and comedians to global icons, tonight we dive into the mysterious world of celebrities who are rumored to have faked their own deaths. Was it an escape from fame? A cover-up? Or just the imagination of fans who couldn't let go? This is Top 10 Celebrities Who Faked Their Own Death. Number 10. Jim Morrison, the rock star who vanished in Paris. On July 3, 1971, Jim Morrison, lead singer of The Doors, the voice of a generation, was found dead in a bathtub in his Paris apartment. He was just 27 years old. The official cause, heart failure. No autopsy. No photographs. Just the word of his girlfriend, Pamela Corson, who claimed she found him unresponsive. But here's where the mystery begins. First, the timeline. Morrison had moved to Paris only months earlier, reportedly to escape the pressures of fame in America. He had gained weight, grown a beard, and seemed obsessed with anonymity. Friends later described him as hiding in plain sight. When news broke of his death, French authorities quietly allowed a burial without the usual forensic investigation. He was placed in Père Lachaise Cemetery in a simple grave. No press photos. No viewing for fans. Just gone. Suspicious? Many thought so. Rumors spread that Morrison staged the entire thing. Some fans believed Pamela helped him escape, swapping his body with another man who had overdosed. Others pointed to alleged sightings. A man who looked like Morrison was reported in Oregon in the mid-1970s, living under a different name. Conspiracy books even claim Jim became a hermit poet, publishing under pseudonyms. Motive? Morrison himself had spoken about wanting to disappear. In an interview he once said, "It's kind of strange when you think about it. Someday people might say, he didn't die, he just disappeared." Was it foreshadowing? Or just coincidence? The truth remains buried. But Jim Morrison's name is forever linked with the idea of escape through death. Number 9. Andy Kaufman, the comedian who made death the final joke. If any celebrity would fake his own death for a joke, it would be Andy Kaufman. The eccentric comedian, best known for his bizarre performances on Saturday Night Live and Taxi, died in 1984 of lung cancer at just 35. But to this day some refuse to believe it. What? Because Andy lived for elaborate pranks. He blurred the line between performance and reality. He staged fights, created alter egos, and once read The Great Gatsby cover to cover on stage just to frustrate his audience. So when he was suddenly gone, fans asked, was this the ultimate punchline? The timeline is strange. Kaufman reportedly told close friends that he wanted to one day fake his own death, then reappeared 20 years later. At his funeral, some attendees swore the body in the casket didn't look like him. And then came the sightings. Over the years, several people have claimed to see Kaufman alive, living quietly under different names. In 2013, nearly 30 years after his death, a woman came forward claiming to be his daughter, insisting Andy was still alive. The story was later debunked, but by then the myth had already flared up again. For fans, the biggest evidence lies in Andy's character. Death as performance art. The last great hoax. To this day, comedians and conspiracy theorists debate, did Andy Kaufman really die? Or did he pull off the greatest prank of all time? Number 8. Bruce Lee, the legend who died too young. Bruce Lee, the man who brought martial arts to the world stage. Actor, philosopher, and global icon. At just 32 years old, he seemed invincible. But on that summer day in 1973, news broke that Lee had died suddenly of cerebral edema, brain swelling. The official story, Bruce had complained of a headache while at the home of actress Betty Ting Pei. She gave him a painkiller, he lay down and never woke up. But the contradiction started immediately. First, no autopsy photos were released. The Hong Kong press initially reported a mysterious collapse at a restaurant, not Betty's apartment. And Betty herself changed her story multiple times about how the evening unfolded. Then came the rumors. Some claimed the Chinese triads poisoned him. Others blamed rival martial artists. Still others suggested he faked his death to escape constant threats and Hollywood pressure. One particularly persistent theory, Bruce staged his death to live quietly with his family, far from the public eye. Supporters point to supposed sightings in Malaysia and even in California years later. The motive? Escape. Bruce had grown frustrated with studio contracts, racism in Hollywood, and the pressure of being an international star. In one chilling interview before his death, he said, "The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering." And some fans believe he found that immortality not through death, but through disappearance. Number 7. Brandon Lee, the crow that never flew away. Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee. At just 28 years old, he was on the verge of superstardom while filming The Crow. On March 31, 1993, tragedy struck. Brandon was fatally wounded after a prop gun accidentally discharged a real bullet fragment. The scene was meant to be cinematic. Instead, it became real. But here's where the story turns strange. The gun was checked multiple times that day. How did a real fragment remain in the barrel? The cameras weren't rolling when the fatal shot occurred. And like his father, Brandon's death seemed surrounded by secrecy and contradictions. Rumors spread almost immediately. Some believed Brandon faked his death to escape the Lee family curse. Others suggested studio executives orchestrated a cover-up to prevent lawsuits. Then came the eerie parallels. Bruce died suddenly before completing Game of Death. Brandon died suddenly before finishing The Crow. Both films eerily mirrored the circumstances of their real deaths. Fans asked, coincidence? Or something planned? Alleged sightings of Brandon surfaced in Asia and Europe throughout the late 1990s. Some even claimed Brandon had finished The Crow himself, appearing in reshoots under heavy makeup after surviving. The official record says he died that day. But the conspiracy endures. Did Brandon Lee follow his father's path into mystery, or step into a life away from the spotlight? Number 6. Paul Walker, the crash that sparked questions. Paul Walker, star of the Fast and Furious franchise, beloved for his charm both on and off screen. The official story: Paul was a passenger in a Porsche Carrera GT driven by his friend Roger Rodas. The car lost control, hit a light pole, and exploded into flames. Both men died instantly. But within hours, theories began spreading online. Here's why. Witnesses reported hearing multiple explosions, not just one. Photos of the wreck didn't seem to show a body in Paul's seat. The crash occurred just before Paul was set to testify in a major international financial case involving relief money for typhoon victims. Some claimed Paul faked his death to protect his daughter and family from threats tied to that case. Others pointed to supposed sightings of him in Dubai, Mexico, and even in a Brazilian resort. One viral video compared photos of the crash site to Paul's known tattoos, suggesting that the body burned beyond recognition may not have been his. Motive? Paul had grown weary of Hollywood, preferring charity work and racing. Friends described him as ready for a quieter life. Could the crash have been staged as his exit? To this day, many fans refuse to accept his death. They insist Paul is out there, living free, away from fame, away from cameras, but forever part of the Fast and Furious family. Number 5. Kurt Cobain, the rock icon who never wanted the spotlight. Kurt Cobain, lead singer of Nirvana, voice of Generation X. At just 27 years old, he was found dead from a shotgun wound to the head. The official story: suicide. But from the very beginning, something felt off. The timeline raised eyebrows. Cobain had just left rehab days earlier. He allegedly wrote a suicide note, but handwriting experts claim parts of the note were penned by someone else. The toxicology report showed levels of heroin so high he would have been nearly incapacitated, raising the question: could he have even pulled the trigger? Then came the contradictions. The police declared suicide within hours, before a full investigation. The shotgun shell casing was found on the wrong side of his body. Friends said Kurt was making plans for the future, even talking about leaving Nirvana. Rumors grew that Cobain faked his death to escape fame. Fans claim alleged sightings of him in rural France, in South America, and even walking anonymously through Seattle in later years. Some believe his wife, Courtney Love, played a role, either in a cover-up or in helping him vanish. Theories suggest Kurt used his deep connections in the underground music scene to disappear. Whether suicide, murder, or escape, Kurt's death left more questions than answers. And for millions of fans, the haunting idea remains: maybe the icon who hated fame finally found a way out. Number 4. Princess Diana, the people's princess who lives on in rumor. Princess Diana, beloved humanitarian, the most photographed woman in the world. At just 36 years old, her life ended in a violent car crash alongside Dodi Fayed. The official story: their driver, intoxicated and speeding, lost control while fleeing paparazzi. But almost immediately, the world refused to believe. What? No clear footage from inside the tunnel has ever been released. Witnesses gave conflicting accounts of what they saw. Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, publicly insisted it was an assassination, and that Diana had planned to announce her pregnancy. Then came the rumors. Diana herself had told friends she feared the royal family was plotting her death. She had even written a chilling letter months earlier predicting she would die in a staged car accident. Some conspiracies go further, that Diana faked her own death to escape relentless media attention and pressure from the monarchy. Alleged sightings appeared in the years that followed, from Spain to a small town in Canada. Photos circulated online of women resembling Diana, fueling the myth. For her admirers, the story is too tragic to accept. For conspiracy theorists, the inconsistencies make the idea of a staged disappearance plausible. Did Diana die in Paris that night? Or did she escape into a quiet life, free from cameras, finally at peace? The world may never know. Number 3. Michael Jackson, the king of pop who refused to leave the stage. Michael Jackson, the king of pop. His death from cardiac arrest at age 50 sent shockwaves across the globe. But for many, disbelief quickly turned into suspicion. The timeline was troubling. Jackson had been rehearsing intensely for his This Is It comeback tour. Suddenly he collapses at home. His doctor, Conrad Murray, is later convicted of involuntary manslaughter. But the contradictions multiplied. The 911 call from his home seemed oddly vague without even naming Michael. Reports conflicted about whether he was already dead before paramedics arrived. Some fans claimed the body on the stretcher didn't match his exact features. And then came the sightings. Within weeks, videos emerged online showing a man resembling Jackson stepping out of a coroner's van. Others claimed to spot him in disguise, in Las Vegas and South America, even walking the streets of Los Angeles. The motive? Some believe Jackson staged his death to escape crushing debt, lawsuits, and the pressures of fame. Others argue he wanted to protect his children from the spotlight. One eerie piece of evidence: Michael had spoken about wanting to disappear years earlier. In a recorded interview he once said, "You wouldn't believe the things I could do. If I wanted to, I could vanish." For many, that quote became prophecy. To this day, fans around the world insist Michael Jackson is still alive, hidden, watching, maybe even preparing for one last performance. Number 2. Elvis Presley, the king who wouldn't die. Scene: Memphis, August 16, 1977. Ambulances rush to Graceland. News anchors interrupt television broadcasts with shocking headlines: Elvis Presley dead at 42. The world mourns. Or did it? Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. His death was ruled a heart attack, complicated by years of prescription drug abuse. Fans flooded Graceland in grief. But almost immediately the rumors began. First, the inconsistencies. The death certificate was reportedly filled out with errors and corrections. Witnesses at the funeral said the body in the casket looked waxy, almost like a mannequin. Some claimed Elvis's sideburns were glued on. A hospital staffer insisted Elvis's middle name was spelled incorrectly on documents, as Aaron instead of Aaron. Then came the sightings. Within days, a man resembling Elvis was spotted at Memphis airport, allegedly buying a one-way ticket to Argentina under the name John Burroughs, an alias Elvis had used before. In the years that followed, Elvis was seen everywhere. Gas stations, diners, even performing under new stage names. Books and documentaries fueled the conspiracy, suggesting Elvis faked his death to escape fame, financial ruin, or threats from criminal organizations. The theory grew so strong that a movement called the Elvis Lives phenomenon took over pop culture. Tabloids regularly ran stories of Elvis sightings. Motive? Perhaps it was burnout. By 1977, Elvis was overweight, exhausted, and addicted to prescription drugs. Friends said he longed for a normal life. The official story says Elvis Presley died that summer day in Graceland. But for millions of fans, the king never left the building. Number 1. Tupac Shakur, the rap legend who lives forever. But from the very beginning, Tupac's death was surrounded by doubt. Here's why. No one has ever been convicted for his murder. His body was cremated the day after his death, unusually fast, leaving little evidence. The official autopsy photo released to the public contained inconsistencies, with features that didn't perfectly match Tupac's. Then came the theories. Some point to Tupac's fascination with Machiavelli, the Italian philosopher who wrote about faking one's death to fool enemies. Just months before his death, Tupac released an album under the name Machiavelli, fueling speculation that he staged his own demise. The timeline deepens the mystery. Witnesses claimed Tupac was seen alive after the shooting, being loaded into a helicopter instead of an ambulance. Fans reported sightings of him in Cuba, Jamaica, and even in the US under heavy disguise. Multiple posthumous albums and videos kept appearing, almost as if Tupac himself was still directing from the shadows. The motive? Tupac had countless enemies, from gang rivals to industry insiders. Faking his death could have been his ultimate escape. To this day, news sightings emerge online. In 2018, a viral video appeared to show Tupac in South Africa. Others swear he lives in Cuba under the protection of political allies. Tupac once said, "I'm not saying I'm gonna change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world." And maybe, just maybe, he's been watching that spark from afar. Closing reflection. So what do we make of these stories? Did these celebrities truly fake their deaths to escape fame, danger, or the crushing weight of public life? Or are these just myths born from grief, our refusal to accept that our heroes are gone? One thing is certain. Every case leaves unanswered questions. Missing evidence. Contradictory statements. Sightings that defy explanation. Maybe it's not about whether they lived or died. Maybe it's about what they meant to us, and how their legends refuse to fade. But now, I want to hear from you. Backhand index pointing right, do you believe Elvis, Tupac, or Michael Jackson are still alive? Backhand index pointing right, which of these stories convinces you the most? Backhand index pointing right, or do you think every one of these was simply a tragic death? Nothing more? Drop your theories in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want more deep dive investigations into history's darkest and most mysterious stories, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next.